Welcome back to Timo's Dinky Detailing. Today I'm going to be doing a Dinky 480 Bedford van. It's going to be an Ovaltine to Kodak conversion. I've got an Ovaltine conversion that I bought at some point from somebody. So I already have one of these, and this one is in play-worn condition, but obviously was well looked after by the child who owned it. But it's scuffed up and chipped up, and one of the tires has bought the farm, and I'm going to be doing a restoration on this one and turning it into a Kodak Bedford van because I'm also into a bit of photography, 3D photography, and I kind of like the Kodak brand, and I always wanted to have one of these vans, so now I'm going to have one. So the first step is to remove the base and the wheels. So I'm going to put it in my milling machine. I've got a piece of wood on the bottom, and then I'm going to put some padding around it. This is the stuff I use for padding my workbench when I'm working, so you've seen that material before. And another piece of wood goes under the hood where the rivet is so that it holds it up when I'm drilling into it. I've started doing this on all my models because it's very handy to be able to drill out the rivet and be in the right place there and getting it adjusted. And then once I've adjusted it, I can do the center drilling, and then I can drill out the rivet, and then I can also drill in and make my thread. So here I'm using this massive drill, but it's the best drill I ever had, and I don't have a smaller one. I got this from my son's friend's grandfather died. That was his drill. He had many of them, but only big ones, but it's a beautiful drill. And so there, that comes off pretty easily. It's one post. The back has that little fold that kind of anchors the back end of it. So it's just one hole to tap. So the mill is already in the right position. So I just changed the tooling and put in a drill. In this case, I'm putting cutting oil because I've had it before where the chewy material that these Dinky toys are made from can grab onto the drill and not let go until the end breaks off. And if it breaks off the wrong way, you're not going to be able to get that thing out, and you'll just have to glue the thing together. You won't be able to tap it. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm using a machine tap, which has a spiral point, so it pushes the swarf in front of it. So unlike hand tap, you don't have to keep backing it off. I like to use these taps because it's a lot less work tapping a hole. Now I've also got a tap that has the end point ground off of it, so it makes the thread actually go deeper because the normal tap has a long taper and the screw won't thread into the tapered part. So just check that the screw fits, and it does. It's a 440 imperial screw, which I find perfect for these jobs. So now you can see that tire, it's done. So it just cracks off. That's easy to take off. And these other tires are pretty hard rubber, but they're in good shape. But this is a special toy for me, so I'm actually planning on replacing all of these tires with the O-rings that I've gotten as replacements that are the same size. So now I've got to take the mushroom off of the end of this axle to get these wheels off so that the parts all come apart and makes it easy to paint. I'm using the file that I have that has the one edge, the teeth are ground off of it so it doesn't damage the wheel as I'm filing it off. I don't anticipate changing this method of taking the axle down because I find it's very easy to do, and there's very little danger of it damaging the wheel. So now I'm going to be stripping the paint, so I'm clamping these things to these hemostats and use one of the axles to hold the wheels. And I'm not using paint stripper anymore. I'm using what is it? The caustic soda. So we go outside because that stuff is pretty stinky and probably bad for you to breathe the stuff. So go outside, put some freshly boiling water, caustic soda, and it boils up pretty good. A little bit more, and now you can see the whole tub has turned blue from the blue paint. So there you go. Those 2 doses took all the paint off the body. The bases are a little bit more stubborn. The paint hasn't come off as yet, so that's going to have to spend some more time in there. And the wheels, they've been stripped perfectly as well. So funny about the base, it must be using some different kind of paint because that stuff is always harder to get off. Mind you, I have to say that those bases I'm finding, they don't have any rust on them. The paint is so effective. The thing can look scratched up and you think it's rusty underneath, and it isn't. It's totally protected the steel underneath. So it's just a little bit left over from the caustic soda. So scratch those off with the brass wire brush. You can see that base. That base is absolutely perfect. There isn't a speck of rust. There isn't even a scratch on it. Any scratches were taken by the paint and they never even went through. It's amazing. I don't know what the heck they were using on it, but it's brilliant paint. It's hard to get it off, but I'm happy because it protects the steel base that you would expect normally just rust all to hell over this time period. Now I'm not using a Dremel tool to polish this. My usual thing is to use this brass brush, and I think that comes up good enough for me to be happy. And it roughens up the surface a bit so that the paint will stick better. This is a beautiful casting. It doesn't have really any damage on it, and the casting itself is excellent. Doesn't need any repairs or cavities to fill. It was cast on a very good day. The bottom, the sheet metal, a little bit, those wings were bent just a tiny bit. Pretty much otherwise it was almost perfect condition. So here, put a coat of primer. I'm using the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer. This is the best primer for these toys. It's just brilliant. It's so easy to spray on, and it's very difficult to get it wrong. It makes a nice, even, smooth coat. Same primer for the wheels. Now the base is getting self-priming satin black paint made by Rust-Oleum. I use it for everything. Now here over the gray primer, Tamiya primer, I'm using the big box store white flat primer because I want to have the lightest color possible underneath the yellow paint that this is going to be getting. If I use gray, the yellow is going to have dark areas wherever there's a high point on the casting. So now here's my yellow paint. This is a mustard yellow paint made by Tremclad, which is a rust paint sold in Canadian hardware stores. It's a very good paint. It's also self-priming, and this is really cool because I'm doing it in the sun and you can see how much the overspray. It looks like I'm in Vietnam and I'm trying to signal a helicopter to come and rescue me. This is so cool. Of course, it's summertime now, so I don't have to do this in the spray booth, and I'm happy to go out in the sun. It's beautiful weather outside. Spray it out there. I keep moving it around because I don't want the paint to run, because I put enough on so it's a shiny coat, and before it has a chance to run, I keep it moving around, and then it doesn't, and it starts to harden before it has a chance. So the hubs get painted red. I didn't show the can, but this is a Tremclad professional paint. It's the most amazing paint ever. And that goes on a couple of strokes. And I put it in the sun to dry, and there she is. Now, doing the base. Did it before in the spray booth. Now I'm doing the outside portion, and I get to go outside to do that as well. Now to the bench grinder where I have a buffing wheel. I'm buffing up the axles. It's hard to videotape this because the axles are so small. But anyway, you get the idea from the video that I'm using a pretty heavy duty tool to do this. If I use something lighter, that's just a lot more work. This makes it easy and fast. So here are the parts of the base. I've got the old tires there. These are the new tires I'm going to use. They're O-rings for some plumbing purpose that are exactly the right size. Ordered a whole bag of them from China. They go on and they look absolutely perfect. And so these, I'm happy to use these when I have a special model and want it to look like new. When I put these wheels on, or the tires onto the wheels, I like to put the axle on because it gives me leverage to control when you're putting the tires on. Sometimes it's very hard to even get them on if you don't have that axle through the wheel. So yeah, I'm putting a bit of paper there. This is a non-stick paper that I like to use. I'm trying to prevent the wheel from getting scratched when I'm working on mushrooming. This one is here to protect the base, and I've got my vice grips that have a groove ground in it so that it holds it perfectly. So the paper is off of there because I'm just going to start with hammering. I had a lot of trouble trying to do this with the drill. And this is my dramatic hammering sequence. So once I've done the hammering, the finish isn't that great, so then I'm going to a new technique. I've made this piece of steel with, I put the hammer drill and there's a cup on the end of that piece of steel. And using the hammer feature, it hammers it and it spins, so that's finished the mushroom. It starts looking better like a mushroom, and it winds up being a really nice looking mushroom when I'm done. So there. It's a good mushroom and it looks really nice. So, time for some detailing. I'm using the Pilot Silver paint. This is the more metallic one. It looks more like the original paint that was on the toy. It's not a perfect restoration because the paint would have been sprayed on through a mask. And I've done that before with a model before I was videotaping these things. And it's difficult to do, but it does give you the factory look. So I'm just brushing on. The popular thing looking online, other people's restorations, is to just paint the grill on the outside and not on the inside and leave the inside yellow. I think it looks nice, so I'm going to do it that way. It would be easy for me to convert it and just paint the inside of the grill silver as well. Or you could even paint the inside of the grill black, but you have to do it in the other order. But anyway, I've done it this way, just the outer part of the grill. The headlights, it's only the inside part that was painted on the original model, so I'm trying to keep this fairly original. So these are decals that I got from Steve Flowers, and now I've got new things. I've got the Mr. Softener or Mr. Setter, mark setter, and this is for making the decals go on better, so you can move them around, and they seal up better, and they wind up fitting much smoother. At least that's the theory. So I'm trying them out here. And I'm not sure that it was a big advantage using this stuff, but reading about it online, it seems like a good idea to use it. So the setter makes it stick better, and it also lets you move the decal around so we can get it in the right position. Now I'm using the ones done by the Japanese company, Mr. Color or Mr. Setter, whatever, Mr. Company. The other brand you could use, which my hobby shop doesn't sell, is the Micro Sol, and that's what I was looking for. But these ones do the same thing. Actually, it separates them. One's a setter and one is a softener. This is a kind of a flat surface. Doesn't really need to be softened. Here I got the decal a little bit too low. I'm glad I had the Mr. Setter underneath, because I could move it around and get it into the right position before I squeegee out the cement and water from underneath. So I was able to get these decals in absolutely the perfect position. So there you have it. Both of them absolutely perfect. Couldn't have done better in the factory. So now it's time to put the thing together. So the screw in the process of painting the head has been painted yellow like the body. Get that one out there and bring the base. So the front wheels are already attached. The back ones don't have any mushrooming. It's just a plain shaft, and it's held together by the sides of the body because the van has spats, as they call them. So for making the model, it's very handy. You don't have to fasten them onto or you don't have to make mushrooms on the ends of the axle. You just put the thing in. So you lock it into the back and put the screw in the front. And I've got that new tool. I watch other people, they've got these tools like this. And it's much more professional looking when you're putting it in, and it is actually a lot easier than using an ordinary Allen key. So there, we're done. So let's remind you what we started out with. So this is the Ovaltine version, painted blue, and you can see how there's a spray edge, like there was a mask and then they sprayed through it. That factory process is very quick and it looks pretty good. The toy is in reasonably good shape. Unfortunately, I'm not keeping it as Ovaltine, obviously, but now we can see what it looks like now. So that's a nice change. For me, that's a beautiful thing, because this is the toy I always saw pictures of, and I always wanted one. And I had I have another one that's an Ovaltine van that's been restored by somebody else, not as well as I would restore it, but anyway, I could have stripped that one, I suppose, but I came across this one, so I took the opportunity and strip it down and restore it as the Kodak cameras and films van. I think it's a beautiful model. The colors, that's the Kodak color, the yellow and the red logo, and then the red wheels really set it off. If I was a child getting this thing, I no doubt this would be my favorite toy. It's a nice shape for a child too. You hold this thing in your fist. It's just great. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Timo's Dinky Detailing. Remember to like and share and subscribe, because that's what keeps these videos coming. So until next time, be seeing you.